dreaded Big Homies podcast back in the building. I'm your boy, CoachCBell, and I got my guy,
Coach TFletch500 in the building, man. Let's do it.
TFletch500, man. Every time I hear that, I'm like, let's get it in. Let's go. Pause.
It's about to go down. It's about
Yeah.
to go down.
That TFletch500, man, y'all don't know. Y'all don't know,
If you
man.
only knew. If you only knew.
if you know, you know.
Right.
Man, all good, man. We just want to welcome back our audience, man. We're building. Things are going well for us right now. Just continue to build. We're getting out the mud, man. Big Homies Podcast. Welcome everybody back to the show where we talk basketball, culture, development, and leadership. And we just want to start it early, kicking it off early, man. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you like. Make sure you share. We're building this thing, Coach TFletch500, we're building this thing organically. You know what I'm saying? We're going to go from 100 to 200 to 1,000 to 5,000, 10,000, 50,000, a million, 2 million. We're just going to keep this thing going.
Straight out the soil, fan, and that's how I wouldn't want it any other way, man. This is the best way to start something off where it's raw, organic, out the mud, and it's just us.
It's just us, man.
I would expect it.
Hey, these people can be anywhere in the world, but they right here with us, man.
And I appreciate it, man. I had a lot of people reach out, over the last week talking about, hey, we need more, man. How you feel about this? How you feel about that? I was like, hey, just stay tuned. Just stay tuned.
Yeah, we're gonna cover everything, man. We're gonna talk. We got a lot to talk about. We're just getting started. To those out there, we just getting started, man. We talk sports, we talk life, and then we're gonna also, push the culture, man. That's what we're doing this show for, and we're having a lot of fun. I wouldn't want to do it with anybody else than my day one, man. We go back many, many years. And we got another good one today, man. As we all know, we in these NBA playoffs. And hey, it's getting real good. Some teams moving on, some teams going home, some teams, heading on to Cancun, going on their vacation, and other teams is in a dog fight. You got some series in a dog fight out there in Detroit and Cleveland. They turn it up a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And Minnesota and San Antonio, they turning up. You know what I'm saying, man? And we're going to get into that. We also going to talk about the NCAA tournament, man. They're talking about it's an expansion. They're going to expand that field, which is exciting. We're going to talk about that. Also, one thing that I always, thought about or, saw and I've talked about over the years is player rankings. We're going to talk about player rankings. Do they matter? Is it meaningful? And this is something that's pretty cool too, because me and Coach T Fletch, we go way back. So we remember when we were players as youngins, and players will be ranked when we were in middle school, and we'll play against different guys that were the number one this and the number one that. And I know when I was much younger, middle school age, I thought it actually did mean something. So I'm interested in having that discussion with you down the line as we talk about that, if it matters, if it doesn't matter. And I'm going through it now because my son now plays and they have a full national ranking for his class. And I'm just looking at it and I just smile and laugh, you know what I'm saying? So we definitely going to get into it, and we're going to have some great topics today.
Well, let me make one comment about that. For the people who just log in and don't understand what's going on behind the show, Chad Bell is so organized. This is why it's a great balance between us, because he put together this whole roster. And when I went over the topic of discussion today, I was like, yo, that's a perfect one, because we're getting ready to go into the AAU season heavy, and you have parents who don't really or haven't really been in that environment. So it's one of the great things to talk about, and which is why you should log into the Big Homies podcast, because you're going to get some great advice from former basketball players, current coaches, and we're going to tell you what's what, and we're going to keep it 100 with you. And so I feel like that's one of the best topics to talk about, especially because we're both in the heart and soul of it. So I'm glad that you actually put put that list together. I think it's something important to talk about, and I think that it's something that the people should really know and really understand in deep detail from people who really know. So I'm glad that was in the conversation today, man.
man. So
Oh, and
let's
for the record, man, the music choice that you've been putting together is awesome. It's amazing. To the graphics, to the intro to the podcast. I don't think I've ever mentioned that, man. You got a little soul to you. I love
Hey man, I appreciate it, man. I want to give us I want to
it.
give a special shout out to my cousin Sky Hutch, man. My cousin, he's a producer, man. He's produced on many projects. He's done work for Kendrick Lamar. He's done work for Ab Soul. He's done work for a lot of those guys from the TDE camp. He's done work for an artist called IDK. My cousin, I really appreciate you, man. Love you, boy. Appreciate you hooking up the show with the production, and we're gonna keep flowing. We're gonna keep rolling.
Hey, keep going, man. I appreciate your work, man. Everything that you're doing. I can't wait to meet you. Inglewood Pizzle said he's gonna drop something for us soon, so I'm looking forward to that. So the show is just like it's the Big 26, like your son say. We gonna keep
The
going
Big
up.
27. Hey man, it's going up, man. All the way to the top of the mountain, man. That's what we doing with this show, man. So, man, I gotta ask you. I gotta ask you. I
We
know
starting off
usually.
spicy. We starting off spicy. Are we doing that?
Yeah, it's not too crazy, but it's just the curiosity. Like I always like when something happens in the sports world, I always think about like I wonder what Coach T Fletch thinks of this whole scenario because you always bring a different perspective than me. Even though like we always say we birthday twins, birthday brothers. And you always say I'm a little different than you. So this whole thing came out last week with Draymond Green and Austin Rivers. I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, it was just some beef kicked off on some regular, conversation, and then it went to a back and forth thing. So I'm not sure. Did you catch that at all?
A tad bit. I have so much drama going on in my life. I try to keep it drama free, but at the same time, I'm super petty, so I love to be entertained. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely got wind of it and was like, "What's happening with them niggas over there?" Right? So I had to pay a little bit of attention to it, and I'm gonna keep it honest with you, man. I love it. I love it. I love a friendly spat. It reminds me of
You're
Kendrick
here
Lamar
for
and Drake. You got a light skin and you got the opposite of a light skin. I ain't gonna be too graphic and specific now that our followers have got up, but at the same time, I'm here for the beef. I'm here for the beef all day. I totally embrace it. I accept it. I love the darkness. I was born in it.
the savagery.
You know what? Uh, do you want me to speak on it first, or do you want to speak on it first?
I want to hear you speak on it because, like I said, when it was
Okay,
going down, I was just like, and I think I even sent you a
right.
couple of little clips of it too.
Yeah. So first of all, both the gentlemen have great points, right? They both were amazing high school basketball players. They both were, pretty good college basketball players, but their NBA careers have gone in total different directions. Now, I feel like it Austin Rivers who started it. Now, Austin Rivers played 11 years in the NBA, and he also played after the Clippers. Like after he left the Clippers, he still had a career. So it's hard to say that his dad bailed him out and he wouldn't have been in the NBA for a long time, but it was looking shaky for a minute. That's one side of it. Now, where the light skin came in, he brought out receipts too and was like, "You have a Hall of Fame front office. Hall of Fame. You didn't get drafted to the Washington Wizards. You didn't get drafted to the Brooklyn Nets. You got drafted to a Hall of Fame front office." And that is something we cannot deny. Yes, you also played with Barbosa. Pause. You also was on the same team as Barbosa. You was also on the same team as Andre Iguodala, Hall of Famer. You was also on the same team with Kevin Durant. You was also on the same team with the Splash Brothers. Uh, Steph Curry, one of the best shooters, probably one of the best point guards, revolutionized the game, right? And then you got the Bohemian boy, the other Splash brother, Clay Thompson. So here's the last thing I'll say about the light skinned boy, and then I'll go ahead and pass the mic. The one specific thing that he said was, "Yo, there will be plays literally where people will be fanning out to the best players, to the better players, to the real basketball, the real hoopers on the court, and there are highlights where Draymond Green just drives down the lane full court and nobody guards me, gets a wide open layup because you were surrounded by that much talent." And I was like, that's almost like they not like us. Like it's almost like a knockout blow because it's facts. You can go on the internet and see it for yourself. It was like, yo, I got Clay, yo, I got Steph, yo, I got Kevin Durant, I got Iguodala. Who's guarding Draymond? We don't need to guard him. Like it was insane. It was like, wow, he really went there. So he got a little spicy with him. He got a little spicy with him, and rightfully so. I love it. I'm dying to know what you think about it, though, fam.
Before I get into it, I just want to. I'm not gonna play Austin's because he originally was asked it on the. I believe it's the Dan Patrick show about.
Right? Yeah.
So let's go back for the listeners that don't know. Draymond has his podcast, and he was just talking in terms of how he felt like, or does he know, or he might feel like maybe Steve Kerr hindered his career in a sense, being that he never was featured offensively. So obviously, we all know how important Draymond Green is to the Warriors and their run and what they did, the role he played on that team. So I think it's just a player saying, "Hey, what if the coach invested into me in that way? How would it look, differently from an offensive standpoint?" So I think just the rebuttal is, hey, you don't have those type of offensive tools to even consider that. And then I think what Austin is basically saying is like Kerr puts you in position to be great, and you're about to be a Hall of Famer once you're done and stuff like that, and you because you bought into your role. So he's basically saying, alluding to what you said, is like you got Steph Curry on your team, you got a Klay Thompson, you got a Durant, you got a Iguodala, you got all these guys that are offensively more gifted than you. So it's no way that he could have, hindered you. So I want to try something, and I'm gonna see if it works. I want to kind of share what Draymond said in response uh to Austin Rivers, what he kind of alluded to. So let me see if I can.
I didn't even bring up Steve Kerr as a Hall of Fame coach. I'm glad you brought that up. And we forgetting Sean Livingston.
Sean Livingston. Absolutely. So I'm gonna share my screen.
While you doing that, it's something I want to bring up that I saw this morning. I know that we focus a lot on basketball, but we talk sports in general, especially when it's hot news. Ahmad Hardy, Missouri Tigers running back, first team All SEC selection last season, was shot at a concert early this morning or Sunday
Mm-hmm.
morning. And is now in stable condition out of getting out of surgery. And I want to give him, as much love and prayers and to his family. Keep your head up, son. It's definitely going to be a process that you got to go through. But at the same time, life is a process, and I'm glad you're okay. It's tough out here sometimes, a lot for these athletes. A lot of people think that athletes get superstar treatment, but student athletes, especially live a different sort of lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? Like you're put under a radar, and all this attention is being put on you, and you're one of the most famous people in your town, city, or state sometimes. And that's a popularity that a lot of people don't ask for. A lot of people just are following their childhood dreams, and so I definitely wanted to just bring that up. I hope the young man is okay, and I hope you're able to battle back, whether it be sports related or not. Man, I just hope that you're able to live a long, fruitful, and successful life. And enjoy the pleasures of being a young man in this world, and get back to it. 100% health. But I just wanted to bring that up because that happened on Mother's Day, and I couldn't even imagine, having a kid and that happening on Mother's Day, and his mom having to be in the hospital all day. But at the same time, I wanted to acknowledge that and bring that up just to make sure that he's being thought about and cared about and receiving love just from everybody all over the nation right now.
Yeah, no doubt. I saw that on social media this morning, man. Prayers up to that young man and his family. Unfortunately, I think he was going to a concert or was at a concert and that event happened. So definitely
Yeah,
prayers
he was
up
at a
for him.
concert.
All right. So this is Draymond's response to Austin Rivers.
Of course, because quite honestly, guys that you usually get into the back and forth with, they become back and forth because it's like one of them like severely tips something this way and the other one just like kind of so far down that it kind of pulls you back a little bit. And so, speaking of Austin Rivers, I saw he said he's bewildered and it's ridiculous of what I said. And I just find it interesting that a guy who was the 10th pick in my draft, I was 35, who's on his second act, still on act one. He goes, Draymond, never been a scorer. Austin, you and I averaged the same amount of points in high school. I say high school because that's when you were at your best. And then in college, he was still good. He was very featured at Duke because NBA careers, should he really talk about my NBA career? I'm still with my first team. He was gone from his first team in 2 years. The guy received the biggest bailout in U.S. history prior to President Trump bailing out the airlines when his dad gave him $42 million. I tip my hat to Doc. I pray that I can give DJ $200 million. Can do $250 million. I pray that I can do that one thing. I love how people just go take the 15 seconds that they want to take and make it a headline. But I really enjoyed watching Austin Rivers be bewildered.
So hold on
Shots fired.
before I go
Shots fired.
before I go any further. I'll say this: hey, fair use, fair use. We do not own any of this video. We're just using it for example in our discussions. Fair use, fair use. And before we talk any further, I want to play this.
Come on, Draymond. This is ridiculous. Seriously. Ridiculous. But you know what? I'm going to address it because you crossed the line and you were mad disrespectful for whatever reason. You've been around too long. We both graduated in the same class. The fact that you don't have the wherewithal to do your due diligence and actually understand what's being highly complimentary of you on the Dan Patrick Show. But it's you, and I shouldn't be surprised. You always act irrationally, emotionally immature, and your anger always puts you in hot water. So here I am having to address a video of you belittling my career. First off, Draymond, we weren't the same players in high school. I don't care about our numbers being similar. I did it at the national level, at the top level. Hence why I got the Naismith Award, and I got pretty much every award you can think of in high school. I was ranked number one. You were ranked, I don't know. So cut it out. Next. College, you actually were you actually a really good college basketball player, but it's hard to compare because I was only there for 6 months, something you could never do. Talk about I was, one of the featured guys. No, I was the guy. I led my team in scoring. I was first team All-ACC, freshman player of the year, lottery pick. Stop. Next. The NBA, hey, man, you got it, Dre. I mean, listen, I played in the NBA for more than 10 years, more than a decade, but 11 years, but I'm not a Hall of Famer like you. So I'll give you that credit. All right? You got it. But let's peel back that onion and understand why. Easy, Tiger. Okay? You have the delusion, the non-wherewithal. The irony of you saying I'm part of the biggest bailout in NBA history. Draymond, you were the luckiest basketball player I think I've ever seen, especially in modern day history. Let's talk about that. You were drafted to a franchise with a Hall of Fame front office, Bob Myers, Hall of Fame coach, Steve Kerr, the greatest shooter of all time, and perhaps a top 5 player of all time, Steph Curry, Hall of Famer. One of the greatest shooters, top 5 shooter of all time, another Hall of Famer, Klay Thompson. The Swiss Army knife himself, the guy who could do a little bit of everything on the floor, Andre Iguodala, another Hall of Famer. I know, keep up, it's a lot of talent. Not to mention one of the most lethal scorers of all time and arguably a top 10 player of all time, Kevin Durant. Same guy you chased off because of this, your mouth. You talk too much. And that's not even counting the plethora of talent around those guys. The Sean Livingstons, the Barbosas, the Andrew Wiggins, the Jordan Pooles, who you also chased off. Cut it out. Draymond, you're the backpack jump shooter. You're the guy that everyone leaves open. No one guards you. There are hours and hours and hours of film of just you being left wide open. In fact, anybody can just YouTube or Google or watch any Draymond game ever, and he's open all game. There are clips of you getting a rebound and just driving in a straight line and just getting a wide open layup. And everyone's fanning out to guard the actual talent on the team. Talking about Steve Kerr ended your career. Bro, Steve Kerr made your career. How dare you? Coming at me? Are you kidding me? Oh, wish I could give my son $200 million if I was a coach. The NBA doesn't give coaching jobs to guys who may or may not sucker punch one of the players and staff. You need to fall back, Dre. Let's just be frenemies. Come on, Draymond.
Woo!
He said it's a friendly fade. We should keep it that way.
That's too much for me. I don't know.
I forgot about the Andrew Wiggins and the Jordan Pooles, man. He said it's your mouth, fam.
Man.
Yeah, I want to say, just because of color purposes, that Draymond Green is Kendrick, but I don't know. I don't know right now, because right now he needs some milk. Draymond Green needs some milk. He great for a response. He got a little bit of 50 Cent to him. The savagery doesn't hit with Draymond, especially because he's still playing, so his microphone is a little louder. But
he went Eminem Renegade. Renegade.
Never been afraid to say what's on my mind at any given time.
I'm a renegade. Man, shout out to AR, man, Austin Rivers, man, my God. Hey, so now we watched that. So I'm a, and I know TFletch500 gonna give me a hard time, but this is just what I feel. Two things can be right. And I think what I don't like is like all this podcast beef is too much for me. It's too much podcast beef. We need to convert the podcast beef into celebrity boxing matches, pay-per-view, and just let dudes, catch the friendly fade. Two things can be right. Like, we got to stop with all this beef. Like, what I feel like, first of all, if I go back to it, maybe Dan Patrick set up Austin, set him up, and Austin was just saying just from a basketball perspective. But, with Draymond Green, he won't smoke at all times. So he might have took it a certain way, but in actuality, I think Draymond Green was put in one of the things here's the thing about making the NBA. Everybody that makes the NBA and gets drafted, they're worthy. But the league is only 30 teams. So when you get drafted by a team, you're going to be in a certain role. You understand? So a lot of times you might get drafted by a team. You might be a high pick, and we'll get into this later. You might get drafted by a high in the draft, and you go to a team that's in a certain place in terms of the team culture, in terms of the team, the roster, the whole situation. And it's up to you to kind of try to figure that out and help and get that team out of that current spot that they're in. And then a lot of times you can get drafted later, and guys might have been drafted before you, year before you, same year, whatever the case may be. And you guys grow together and it ends up working out well. You get the coach you need, whatever the case may be. But these two guys, they don't got to belittle each other. Like, I got respect for both of them because, for one, it's extremely hard. Like, we could take Austin Rivers. It's extremely hard to go from, like, I followed Austin Rivers when he was in high school, one of the best high school players I ever saw. Like, if you look at, he's got one of the best mixtapes we ever saw, when it became a thing. He was a former, like you said, a former number one player, went to Duke, had success. It's extremely hard to go to the league and then get drafted by a certain team, and you're trying to figure out, number one, not even number one thing that people don't understand, it's people that work in the NBA, whether it's coaches, whether it's even scouts or whoever, like, you can have all this accolades that you accomplish, and they really don't know much about it. They really haven't seen you like that. And they dealing with, for instance, it's a player. I won't say his name. Super good in high school. Was probably the number one player. Went straight out of high school. Got drafted by a team. His head coach did not know what position he played. His head coach didn't know his player profile, meaning somebody he told, I never forget this player in particular I'm talking about. He told me one of his coaches went and got his high school film and sat down with the coach and pressed play. And he said, "Oh, I didn't know he was a scorer. I thought he was a pure point guard." And he's like, "Nah, coach, this is what we're trying to tell you. You're trying to play him as a pure point guard. We should be playing him as a scorer." He's like, "Man, I didn't know that. The front office didn't tell me." So that goes to show you that a lot of times guys get in situations and people just don't know. And then at the same time, in the league is a league. You got to play the role that's given to you. You can fight and try to earn this, that, and third. But even with that, it has to be in a place where that opportunity is available to you. So I'm very impressed, and I'm being long-winded with Austin's ability to adjust in the league, having accomplished all that. You have to humble yourself in a way to even last. Regardless, people like to say, "Oh, his dad gave him his money, this and the third." But at the same time, if you go back and look at film, he was a serviceable NBA player. He played his role really well, played defense, made open threes, and every now and again he got into his number one player in the country bag, as you can see on those clips. So he was never put in a position to be who he used to be. He had to play what was available to him, and he did a damn good job. Now, with Draymond, all right, Draymond figured out, like, for me to stay in this league, I have to play a certain role. And he was smart enough to understand that I got Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Sean Livingston, Andre Iguodala. Early on, he had Andrew Bogut. He had those guys. So he was smart enough to look at it and say, what role do I play with these guys? I can't shoot it better than them. I'm not a better scorer. So I got to get it defensively. I got to rebound. He said that I gotta get those guys the ball. So he was smart enough to figure that out, and he carved out a niche. So players out there, this is one thing, big homie advice. Carve out a niche for yourself with your team. You're going to automatically buy yourself consistent playing time or more playing time. All right. So, I hate to be the guy, not even hate to be the guy. I like to be the guy. Forget it. Peacemaker here. You know what I'm saying? I know Coach TFletch chooses violence most of the time, but you don't got to shit on each other's career, because me as a hooper, and I'm a basketball junkie, I respect them both. And at the same time, besides that, hey, we from around the way. I'm from Inglewood. We from Inglewood. We like a little shit talking. So I like the little shit talking too. But it shouldn't be no real beef. I think that I will hope that if they both ran into each other at Summer League this summer, they just bumped and just laughed at each other like, "Hey, you talk your shit, I'll talk my shit. It's all good." Because it's really not that serious. I respect both.
So, yes, I am. I agree with you on the fact that two things can be right. Two things can be right. In this case, where I agree with you is, yes, both players had great careers and they were serviceable pieces. Draymond is still on his first act, like he reminded everybody. He's still on his first act, one team, where another player had to be a journeyman. But is he a journeyman just on the bench? Like he's not. Austin Rivers not 7 feet tall, so he's not getting a lot of these jobs just because he's a serviceable athlete. In the fact that, oh, we might need a backup for this. A lot of teams he went to, he started on and he put up numbers. He was, to me, one of the better players in the NBA at one point once he finally figured it out. But you get people who sometimes get drafted into situations where it's a tough ask. You get drafted to the Sacramento Kings. We might not even know who you are until you get to the San Antonio Spurs. You know what I'm saying? De'Aaron Fox is playing in the playoffs right now, but I think his first or second time ever in his entire career, right? And there's a lot of people that never heard of him. And this is how crazy the NBA is. There's so many women coming out talking about, we never heard of Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson, the Hall of Famer. It wasn't until he got with Meg Thee Stallion they talk about they heard Klay Thompson. I'm like, yo, women can be straight savage. And right now, the savagery in this conversation is amazing. I love the idea of a friendly fade. But this is Kendrick Lamar and Drake. It's not going to be that. This isn't 1990s hip hop or rap. You know what I'm saying? Like they're not going to have a scrap. I would love for it to be a Cat Williams and Kevin Hart moment where they embrace each other on stage and they ended their beef. You know, it would be great to see. But if I'm being honest, I want a couple of more diss tracks. I want a couple of more records. You know, like, I want the beef to prolong just a little bit longer because I'm petty that way. I like to be entertained. Entertain me. And right now, this is very entertaining. But to go back to Chad Bell's point, there are people that get drafted, like a Sam Darnold in football, to the New York Jets. And his career just plummeted immediately. He is the Super Bowl MVP right now. And so I'm not saying if Draymond Green is not playing for the Warriors that he wouldn't be, you know, a good player. But if you switch the two players' roles, it doesn't mean that Austin Rivers is going to have Draymond Green's career. It doesn't mean that Draymond Green is going to have Austin Rivers' career. Some things happen the way they're supposed to happen, and you got to make the best of it. And right now, to Chad Bell's point, Austin Rivers is a commentator, and he was on the Dan Patrick show responding to a question that he was asked, and I didn't feel like there was a lot of disrespect, but at the same time, he was talking about 50 Cent. He was talking about Draymond 50 Cent Green. So Draymond 50 Cent Green is going to respond like 50 would, and that's what he did. And so I hope we get a couple of more chapters before they have a kumbaya. And if it's not a kumbaya moment, I don't care. I love the smoke. Keep it. Let's roll it. Let's roll. Let's make an album out of it.
Man, I'm all for it, man. Hopefully, man, we'll get a couple of more diss tracks, like you said, and then we can kill it, man, before the season ends here and we have a champion.
This is how you decided to start the show off, huh? This how you want to start the show?
Hey, with that fire. I told you. I told you. I tried to told you. I tried to told you.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Hey, but speaking of, we just talked about draft, draft position where teams get their picks and things of that nature. Just yesterday, I don't know if you caught it, they had the draft lottery. The draft lottery was yesterday. And this June, with the number one pick, who's getting the number one pick? Coach TFletch?
Washington
Wizards. And it was so funny. Did you see the young man, AJ DeBosta's reaction?
I didn't.
Or lack thereof. So his reaction was straight face, no smile, no nothing when they said that the Wizards got the number one pick. And it's a whole lot of ways you could take this because you're the one who kind of educated me on his background playing prep high school ball out there in Utah. He goes to BYU for a season. So all directions and signs was pointed towards Utah. And it seems to me, and I don't know anything, it seems to me based on that knowledge that the young man wanted to kind of stay there and play for the Utah Jazz. However, the Utah Jazz did get the second pick, so that is very, very interesting. And we can kind of just talk about those because now I'm starting to think, is there going to be a swap? Is it going to be a trade? I think personally, and I'll answer early, I think we're going to see an interesting draft in terms of who gets drafted where. And I think there's going to be some trades in the draft. And I think it's going to be current player moving with the draft. You know what I'm saying? I think we're going to see a lot of different things going on.
I could, because they want AJ to stay in Utah so bad. He's played there ever since he was a teenager. I could definitely see them trading up just to get it. Now, the flip side, and this is where the savagery comes from, I can see AJ getting drafted, not going to the draft, and be like, I'm going back to Utah because whatever y'all gonna pay me in my rookie NBA contract, BYU is gonna match it.
But I don't
BYU
know.
is.
He can't do that though, right? He has to.
I don't listen. I'm gonna be honest with you. With the way that a lot of these players in the NBA are going back to college, I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised. You send me some clips where I was like, wait a minute, my man got drafted, played in the NBA, and now he's going back to college. Like I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, I mean, you
So
got guys that's
yeah,
petitioning. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, who knows the rules anymore?
it's wild. So in that case, I can see AJ being like, I didn't get drafted to the team I wanted to. Kind of like when the Manning brothers were coming out. The Manning brothers are coming out, and their dad was like, "Yo, if you draft him to Cleveland, we won't show up. We won't show up." And they made sure that he got the younger Manning, Eli, got to the Giants, right? And the same thing with the older brother. I can't think of his name
Eli,
right now. Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning. I
Peyton
mean,
Manning.
yeah,
Yeah, Peyton Manning was supposed to get drafted to the Chargers. They was like, "Nah, we not going there, fam," and it didn't happen. So I could totally see Utah pulling some strings behind the scene and possibly even making a lot of phone calls and backdoor channeling and trading to get that number one pick, or making some things happen that only CEOs and bosses and owners know about behind the scenes. But there's no way they're trying to let AJ out of Utah. I've said it plenty of times on this show, and right now it looks like with Utah having a number two pick, they're in a good position to be able to trade that pick and give up possibly future draft picks. Because if you're Washington, why wouldn't you want to get the number? This is a great draft. Why wouldn't you want to get the number two pick? There's nothing wrong with getting the number two pick. You miss out on AJ, and that's okay because we're going to get a future first round pick, or maybe even possible because Utah wants them that bad. Maybe even possible future multiple first round picks. So I think this draft is going to be a really good draft because there's so much talent in this draft. Being able to trade and have two picks, maybe in the top 10, top five, it's not a bad option.
yeah, no doubt. AJ's camp has to consider. And first of all, if I'm watching Wizards, I'm super excited. First of all, you got the number one pick, you got a chance to draft AJ. You really have to look at it like this. Just imagine if healthy, a healthy Trey Young, a healthy Anthony Davis, and you add
Whoa, what you just
AJ,
say? A healthy who?
Anthony Davis.
When that happened?
I'm just saying, what if? If you have that that's a team that can make that's a playoff team. You got a guy that probably will win rookie of the year. Trey Young, we know the body of work he's done in his time in the league. And then Anthony Davis, obviously it's a big question mark, like you said, but even if you can get AD to play, 60 to 65 games and he can play in the playoffs, that's a good roster. And I'm not even mentioning supporting cast. Like, that's a nice landing because you always want to go in the league and have a chance from the start. And with that team, you'll have a chance. Now, in Utah, they got a lot of young talent out there in Utah. And, Utah's, become his home. And I know that's where your home is where your heart is, and I understand it. But Washington Wizards, I like what they have going and what they did with their trades and was able to get, Trey Young there. And like I said, it's not a bad spot. Like you gotta be open. And one thing I always say to young guys, be thankful, be grateful having an opportunity to play in the best basketball league in the world. And, the mentality has to be wherever I go, I'm going to be great. I've seen really good players, get traded and I've seen how they reacted and they embraced it, and then it turns out to be really well. You know what I'm saying? Like we've seen Shai Gilgeous-Alexander get traded after his rookie year, He thought he would be in a Clipper uniform for a very long time. He got traded for a bunch of picks. Now look at him. He's MVP of the league. He's on the defending NBA championship team. So I think he looked at it like, okay, this is my new situation, and I'm going to go there and I'm going to be great.
The roster, you're right. It does look pretty legit, especially with them being able to have a top pick, possibly, the number 2 pick if, Utah Jazz make a deal, which I think they will. I love the fact that you brought up Trae Young, though, because Trae Young, we talked about this when the Warriors had to play in the playing game, the first game. I don't remember who they played against. I know the second game they played against the Clippers, but the first game, I don't remember who they played against. But she was like, yo, he's a lethal weapon. Like, he's a problem. So anytime he's on the court, they always have a chance to win. If you've seen Trae Young play in the playoffs, it's a different type of game. Like Jimmy Butler in quarantine, right? It's a different level. It's kind of how Anthony Edwards played last night. Trae Young in the playoffs is one of those players you don't want to guard. And to show how old school we are, it's kind of like Tim Hardaway. Tim Hardaway during the regular season to be wolfing, playing decent defense. All of a sudden in the playoffs, nobody wanted to guard Tim Hardaway. He was that guy. That's Trae Young. Trae Young with the Atlanta Hawks put up numbers, especially in the playoffs. I mean, Washington Wizards in a beautiful spot.
Just real quick, I'll hit the rest of the draft order. Utah, you talked about that. We'll have the second pick. And Memphis Grizzlies with the third pick. Fourth pick will be the Chicago Bulls. Fifth pick, we talked about that. Clippers. Sixth pick, Brooklyn Nets. Seventh pick will be the Sacramento Kings. The eighth pick will be the Atlanta Hawks, which they got their pick from New Orleans. The ninth pick will be the Dallas Mavericks. The 10th pick will be the Milwaukee Bucks. 11th, Golden State Warriors. 12th, Oklahoma City via the Clippers with that SGA trade. And the 13th pick will be the Miami Heat. So it's going to be an interesting draft. This draft, as you spoke about, has a lot of talent in it. And I'm interested to see which way teams are going to go. And we're going to move on from it. I don't want to spend too much time on it. Memphis has to decide what they're going to do. Are they going to draft a guy like Boozer or go after Caleb Williams or look at a guy like, and this is me, I would be really, really intrigued about Darius Acuff Jr. Going to the Grizzlies, especially if it seems as if that the Grizzlies are going to be moving on from Ja Morant, the Ja Morant era. So that would be a perfect kind of pivot. You know what I mean? So it's just going to be interesting. I think Caleb Wilson, I think in terms of upside and star quality and star ability, I like him more than anybody. And that's a guy that you got to look at. Like everybody talks about AJ. Well, I think that Caleb is just as good. And if I may say it, in a lot of ways, better. So maybe that's a situation that Washington will want to look at, or, Utah might want to look at doing that and they swap or whatever the case may be. But nevertheless, it's going to be an interesting draft. Expect some swaps, expect some trades. So we're going to see a lot of different type of movement in the NBA during the draft in June.
It says a lot about what can happen in the draft if, you don't move with caution. And nothing's 100%. Nothing's guaranteed in the draft. Like, it's really tough to be able to evaluate potential, at this level. And so one thing that I know that you talk about is drafts or an all-star player. Would you rather have an all-star player? Would you rather take potential in the draft? It's almost like being a college football coach. Do you want to really gamble on one of the top prospects coming out of high school, or am I just going to take a transfer? I have to take a D1 transfer, somebody who's already proven themselves, right? And that's what you see right now. That seems to be the way that the college atmosphere is happening. A lot of football and basketball coaches would rather take that D1 transfer rather than roll with the young talent. So I think this is going to be an exciting draft. I think this draft is going to be one of the drafts we talk about, 5-7 years from now about, oh yeah, they were also in the same draft class. Draymond Green and Austin Rivers were in the same draft class, right? Like, so this is one of those drafts we'll be talking about in the future. I really believe that. And I like Caleb Williams. I think, Wilson. I think he could be one of the better players in the draft. But like you said, I also love Darius Acuff. I don't know what Memphis is doing with Ja Morant. I'll be exciting to see, how that plays out. And another person that people talk about is Darren Peterson, who I'm not really high on Darren Peterson like that. I don't know why it is. It's just something about the kid. He hasn't passed my eye test yet. I'm just hoping that I'm wrong about it.
Well, I think one of the things that's going to tell a lot for the GMs and the presidents and all the coaches out there is the draft workouts. Draft workouts are started. These guys start flying around doing workouts with the team. And during my time in the NBA, it always helped me to spend some time with the draft prospect, to be on the floor with them. Kind of seeing their game up close and being able to evaluate in person versus watching on TV. Then you can also have those conversations. And when you have a conversation as a hooper, you get to see their mentality. You get to see their approach. You get to see them when they walk into your building, how they greet people. Do they speak? Do they look people in the eye? How they react to people. How do they come into the gym and get prepared? Do they go in there and do they have a routine, or are they just kind of all over the place? So it gives you an opportunity just to see and then kind of see. I always say, like, doing the draft workouts is like going on a blind date. You go on a blind date, you kind of see, what kind of woman this is. Is she just trying to hit you for your pockets? Is she just trying to get a free meal? Like, what are we doing here? So it's gonna be a lot. It's a lot going on in the next, 3 to 5, weeks or whatever the case may be, 4 to 6 weeks, whatever the case may be, and we kind of see where guys kind of end up and land at.
Hey, you just expanded this conversation another 2 minutes, and I apologize. Because you grown and
Once you
sexy.
heard
Have you
blind
ever
date,
in your yes, exactly where I'm going. Have you ever in your life been on a blind date?
have I want to say I have. I'm just trying to figure out like it was just like you never seen the girl.
Yes, you've never seen her, and somebody just told you about her.
Oh yeah, I had one. So back when I was in college, um, this is when my grandmother was alive. She was on dialysis. And I used to take her, she was in LA visiting us. I used to take her to this dialysis place. And
Mm-hmm.
this lady comes up to me. I take my grandmother in. I'm about to leave because I would leave and come back and get her. And this lady comes up to my car and she says, "Hey, excuse me, young man, are you single?" And I'm thinking like, what this old lady hitting on me for? I'm like, yeah, I am single. She's like, "Oh, you'll be." She said, "Oh, you'll be perfect for my daughter." I'm like,
uh,
okay. And I'm like, all right, okay. Mom's not really my type. but we'll see. Any, anyway,
Zero
long
to ten,
story
how
short,
she look?
0 to 10, she was a nice 8.5. She was solid.
Okay, moms, we
Yeah,
looking
so
out.
I
Yeah.
was worried. I was worried because when you get hooked up with a blind date, I know for me at that, especially at that point in my life, it had never really worked out.
Right.
And it was cool. She was cool. We had good, chemistry and everything. It was cool. I was like, and it was funny because the girl said, "You know what? You the first guy that my mom has recommended that I actually like." And I was like, "Oh,
Mm.
okay." I was like, "Hey, put it like this. I got way more than I expected. So it was like,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
So I'm
yeah.
glad you brought up the analogy. This is the last question I ask you on this topic because I know we got to move on. Would you rather have that high draft pick, or would you rather roll with the proven all star?
Now, if I have a team that already has a a, a, a real good supporting cast already, and that's what we're missing, I'd rather get the all star. But if I got a bunch of like guys that are like, maybe like young, and I know that if I bring that all star, it's still gonna take us a couple years. I'd rather just bring in another young player and they grow like that. You understand what I'm saying?
Like a Portland Trailblazers. You'd rather just keep it young.
Yeah, just keep it young
Okay.
and grow from there. Whereas, like I see what Houston did, they brought in Kevin Durant with their guys, even though they're still kind of young, but they still got some veteran pieces in place, and they just happened to get unlucky when the point guard went down, and that kind of hurt them.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, Houston probably would still be playing right now. You know.
And Steven Adams. Don't forget about Steven
Yeah,
Adams,
and
man.
Steven Adams, yeah, he was hurt.
Yeah.
So they just got they just had unfortunate circumstances there. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
I love it. I love it. I agree 100%. The last little tidbit I'll add in is like one of the reasons why the New England Patriots was great so long because Tom Brady took less money. That's the highest paid position. In football, if you draft a rookie quarterback, you can build around him until he has to get that big contract. So I love the fact that you can do that in football and it work out. Basketball is a whole different animal. It really, like Coach Chad Bell said, it really depends on circumstance. Where are you at specifically with your team, with that franchise? And this is why you need to log into the podcast because you're gonna get this big homie advice that you're gonna need. Is it blind dating? Is it future franchises? Ask us. We here for you.
Hey, can I say it? Can I say it?
As you should.
Let us be your manager. Appreciate you.
It's time to hop into it. Let's talk about the playoffs.
Playoffs? Oh man,
time.
the playoffs. Hey, like we always say, you know what?
A week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, was the first round of this playoff NBA season the best first round that you've seen in a long time? It was crazy.
Yes, absolutely it was. And like I said, there was so much unexpected. It's like literally the theme of it was expect the unexpected. And that's what you want in a NBA playoffs. It's a 7-game series, the race to win 4 games, man. And every game is a different, as you know, you have to make an adjustment. You can't play the same way. Different guys step up at different times. Your stars win you a couple games. Your coach wins your games. Your supporting cast, random supporting cast win your games. So it's been really, really exciting, man, and I'm enjoying these playoffs. Just watched last night the Minnesota Timberwolves and San Antonio Spurs, man, which was awesome. They'll be playing again tomorrow night, and that game was very, very interesting. And I'm just getting into it because I'm just excited. The Minnesota Timberwolves, that game was just straight will. I think the will of Anthony Edwards is amazing. I think that he just came down and made the plays needed. And I think when you're a guy like him and you're the face of your team and you get paid that kind of money, you need to put on that type of performance. And one thing that I love about Anthony Edwards, he's not afraid of the moment. He wants the moment, and he takes the good with the bad. And I think that if you looking at that game, it was just like basically give me the ball and get out the way. And one thing I did like that he did, and I love what Coach did for the Spurs. They started sending double teams towards him. So, Anthony had to give that ball up. And then one thing that I like the adjustment made by Minnesota is like, okay, instead of Ant bringing that ball up because we know that double team come and have somebody else bring the ball up and then try to get him the ball after you cross half court later in the possession. But it was a spectacular performance by him. He scored, I believe it was 34 points. No, 36 points, I'm sorry. 13 for 22, 3 for 5 from 3. I mean, just an outstanding performance by him. But the only thing that kind of worries me about the Minnesota Timberwolves is I don't think you can steadily run your offense in that way. And maybe you can and just get hot and stay hot. But it wasn't really anything like they were running. It was just straight the will of Anthony Edwards. And it was tough on the Spurs. They lost Wemby, the elbow, the elbow. I don't know if you see that. And let's talk about that too, because I don't know if you've seen that play. Do you think it was worthy for him to get kicked out? And, the first thing I thought, like, us growing up, we watched basketball in the 90s. And that was just like a regular flagrant, not no flagrant two or whatever the case, whatever you call it, and you get thrown out. But it sucked to see that he had to leave the game. But that opened up things for the Timberwolves and the San Antonio Spurs. They hung in there the rest of the way. It wasn't like the game was over from there. I believe Minnesota was down going into the fourth quarter. So, like I said, that was Anthony Edwards. You know, his willpower, and I think that Rudy Gobert, he impacted that game in such a way with his rebounding and then playing in the dunker. They found him in the dunker, and he was able to do things defensively. It was just a really good performance by him as well.
Yeah, I love the game last night because I love good playoff basketball. It's totally different than the regular season. The level of competition just kicks up to an entire different level. And it's worth watching. It's 82 games in the regular season. In some games, you can tell players are packing it in. Like, hey man, let's go ahead and get up out of here. We're the Washington Wizards. We're not trying to win this season. We're the Utah Jazz. We're taking on purpose, right? We're Indiana Pacers. Halliburton is out. But the playoffs is nothing like that, and you start to see really good players become great, right? You start to see who the superstars are, the mega superstars, right? And Anthony Edwards is one of those people. He's that guy. He's him. He's a franchise player for a reason, and he proved to everybody on the stage last night why he's really that guy. Like you said earlier, in the double teams, he still was making it happen. He still was able. I saw a point where he got triple team and still got a shot off. It was a shot on the right wing coming off a screen, and he just got a quick handoff and got a shot off quick and knocked it down, drilled it. And in the fourth quarter, big time moments. I did want to ask you one question before we really dove into this topic, though, because this is old conversation, but it's still something that I just really want to know, especially with your basketball knowledge. What team in the first round was the biggest disappointment to you?
In the first round,
And I'll make my point real quick. Is like the disappointment for me was Boston, but the way that Orlando tricked off Game 6 and the way that they lost it, having a 3-1 lead, something about it hurt my soul. They was up 25 and they tricked off a Game 6. They tricked off a 3-1 lead and let Detroit come back. And like Indiana Pacers last year, I think that is about which team is hot in the playoffs at the right time. And I don't like talking about the New York Knicks. Um, I don't like the fact that the Knicks have so many celebrities courtside. It bothers me because I grew up watching late 80s basketball, and the Lakers courtside was insane. And to bring up one more thing that you said before you answer the first round question, when Kurt Rambis got clothesline, it wasn't a technical, it wasn't a flagrant, it was two free throws and play on. He got clothesline and going up for a layup. And it was two free throws, keep it playing. No technical, no flagrants or nothing.
exactly, because it's playoff basketball. You know, things are going to happen. It's going to be situation. And I think that, you know, us growing up as kids watching that type of stuff, and we see Wemby, you know, now it was a nasty elbow, but to be kicked out the game is crazy. And that's just how it is now. And I just read that the good news is though he will be available for game 5. So he's not suspended. But to answer your question in terms of disappointments, I'm not going to lie. I think the Hawks, even though I didn't expect them to beat the Knicks, they disappointed me in how they finished. That last game, especially I believe that the last game was a super blowout, right? Yeah,
Super blowout. Yeah.
I thought
They lost by 40.
I thought they just gave up. That was like now they lost by 51, and in the playoff games losing by 51, and I believe they were at home too. I was just disappointed in how they finished. I wanted them to, you know, push the Knicks to the limit and just give them that fight because I know that team can. So it was a little disappointing seeing the Hawks go out that way. And I thought that the Hawks were good enough not to beat the Knicks, but I thought they were good enough to almost like push them to a game 7, you know, and then
Right.
just to have that opportunity to push to a game 7 and lose by 51, I thought that was just, you know, really disappointing to watch and disappointing to see.
Yeah, I'm glad you gave that take on it because I totally I blocked out the Atlanta performance. I was so disappointed, but 100%. I'm glad Wemby is not suspended. Just to get back on track and thank you for following me down that rabbit hole. I'm glad Wemby is not suspended for it's the playoffs, man. If this had been a regular season, yeah, suspend him for a game or two, right? But even in the regular season, I would have said eject him. And if I'm being quite honest, just because I love the savagery. I wouldn't have mind if it was just a flagrant and play on if he had finished the game, and watching the way that the San Antonio Spurs battled in that game, like the game was really close, really close. It let me know that with Wembanyama on the court, the Spurs have a chance to win the championship. And I didn't think that anybody could compete with Oklahoma. I didn't think that anybody could compete with them. But seeing them play the way that they play, it's been 2 games now they play without Victor because he had a concussion, I think game 2, right? And they lost game 1. They won game 2, right? So that's the crazy part. Is like, even though their best player's not on the floor, they're still balling out of control. They're that good. They're that good. And so, like Austin Rivers was saying, it really depends on the franchise that you're drafted to. Victor Wembanyama went to a historic franchise. He went to a great franchise. There are a few franchises that really seem to do it right, and San Antonio Spurs are one of them. They have drafted really well, and they put the right pieces around Victor Wembanyama for him to be successful. And I see them being a tough out. As much as I love Minnesota and the way they play their hardcore defense, and I thought that, like you said, Gobert was amazing last night in his role, and he reminded everybody why he was Defensive Player of the Year. But we're
More
going back to
time.
San Antonio now. Yeah, we're going back to San Antonio now. So it's time for you guys to really buckle up because the series now is tied at 2 and it's just getting started. That's what I love about playoff basketball. Winning 4 games, you're probably going to have the best team. No, you're going to have the best team win the series. Teams don't usually win by luck in a 4-game series. That's why playoff basketball is so special, man. It's amazing. It's a beautiful thing to watch right now. It's a good time to be a basketball fan, and I'm here for it. So I'm excited to know who you think is going to win the next game. It's in San Antonio. I always like to get your picks and why because you give great takes.
Man, this game is definitely going to be one for the ages. It's going to be a really good game, and I strongly feel that the San Antonio Spurs are going to win this game. For one, Wemby, I think that he probably felt like he let his team down, and he lost his cool a little bit. Where if he was on the floor, the game could have been very much different. I think because of what happened with the incident, with the elbow incident, and those San Antonio Spurs fans, they rally behind their players, so the energy is going to be electric in support of Wemby coming back. And Wemby, I love where he's at. I love his mentality. Although he lost his cool, I also like the aggressiveness. I think that it's a little bit too much friendly going on. And I love the aggressiveness and the energy he brings. He's a student of the game. He studies different eras, different players. I just think that even his team's going to rally behind him. It's like when he's on the floor, it's kind of like he's a totally different player, but he has the Shaquille O'Neal effect. I think that Shaquille O'Neal, when he played, he had the ability to raise the bar for his teammates and his supporting cast, and he raised their level of play. And I think they're going to all rally behind Wemby, man, going back to San Antonio. And I think that, like I've been talking about, Ant's going to come out swinging. And but I just think that that team is just nuclear as well. I love the way Harper is playing. He plays like he's been in the league for 10 years, and he's not afraid. He's a fearless competitor, and I just think this team, man. Ultimately, man, this team is who you want to see meet OKC in the Western Conference Finals. But it's not over. I just believe that in this game 5 that we're going to see Tuesday, I definitely expect that the San Antonio Spurs is going to take care of business.
I think whoever wins this next game wins the series. And I don't see San Antonio.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't see San Antonio losing in San Antonio. But if they happen to lose in San Antonio, it can go to Game 7. I still give the advantage to Minnesota if whoever wins the next game. I said wins the series straight up. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying it with my chest. As far as Minnesota, they got to take care of the ball in the fourth quarter, man. Last 2 minutes of the game, it looked really tricky without having point guard on the floor, and you have you have Mike Conley over there, right?
Yeah.
Isn't he their point guard? Yeah. You have Mike
Yeah.
Conley.
Better.
Their offense seems really stagnant in the fourth quarter. It's a lot of ISO ball. It's a lot of one-on-one. And if you look at the other side, the ball is moving. It's flowing. And it seems like they have a system that they get back to. And that's the one thing that Chad Bell brought up 3 episodes ago, was making sure that you keep the main thing. And that's what San Antonio does. Every time down the floor, you usually get 4 to 5 players touching the basketball. There's rhythm with their offense. They're patient and they're not rushing anything. A lot of times you see in the fourth quarter, it's ISO ball when it comes down to Julius Randle. And I love the comment that Nas Reed made about getting hit on the elbow. He said, "Hey, pain is weakness leaving the body." That's how he responded to it. And that reminded
Inglewood salute. Yeah.
All day. That reminded me of what they did to Jokic's last series. They got under Jokic's skin. And so we've never seen this team be battle tested, meaning San Antonio. And this is the perfect team that's going to push you to the limit, because everybody had Denver last series, and nobody told Minnesota that they were the underdogs. Everybody had San Antonio Spurs as the victors in this series. Nobody told Minnesota that they were underdogs. They don't care. They do not care.
and here's the thing, not to cut you off, people got to remember, Minnesota has been there before. They've been to the conference final before. So this is nothing new. So they're not even worried about public opinion where people predict they should be or where they should stop at. They've been there before, and company, they're hungry to get a championship. Like that's the mindset of this team. We're looking on the other side of it. In that locker room, the conversation amongst those players is, let's win the next game, and the next game, and the next game, and move on. They want to win a championship.
Earlier in the show, we talked about Ahmad Hardy, who just got out of surgery, and blessings to him. We don't talk a lot about these athletes and the things that they have going on in their personal lives. Anthony Edwards last night dedicated the game during Mother's Day to his mom and his grandmother who raised him, and he said that was one of the reasons why he wanted to come out and have a stellar performance. And I love the fact that he put on the show on that type of stage, and he's taking accountability for a lot of his mistakes. He's saying that he doesn't have the win that he would normally have. He doesn't have the legs that he would normally have. And at the same time, he's still producing and coming through in these playoffs. And right now, you're starting to see superstars turn to mega stars. And so I want to see if this young San Antonio Spurs team can step up. And I think they will. I honestly do, because they can be a future dynasty if they keep their young pieces together and keep rolling like this. But man, this might be my favorite matchup right now out of all the matchups left in the NBA. This is the one to watch, man. I'm excited about this series.
Yeah, it should be good. So you're saying on tomorrow night you're saying Minnesota.
Not at all.
Oh, you're saying San Antonio. I had to make sure. I had to get it on record. I'm just getting it on record.
Right.
Getting it on record. Get it on record. Making sure I'm clear.
Victor Wembanyama's playing. I'm rolling with the Spurs. At home too. Yeah, I'm not betting against them.
It's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, I love it.
Yes, sir. Yep. So let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about the out there back east, Detroit, Cleveland. In the last matchup Saturday afternoon, Cleveland won 116-109. Now this series is going to a game 4 in Cleveland. Interesting, man. And this is a team that me and we talked about since the trade happened with James Harden going out there to Cleveland to team up with Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell put on a stellar performance to catapult his team. 35 points, 10 rebounds. Harden, he didn't break 20, but he had 19 and 7. He made baskets when he needed to. I believe he had 13 points in the fourth quarter, which was amazing. And they really needed that game because it could have been real ugly going down 3-0. But now here we are. Excuse me. Now here we are with game 4. coming up there in Cleveland. And I think that this is one of those games, like you talked about with the previous series we talked about. This is one of those games that's going to have implications, and I can steal the same thing from you and just say that whoever wins this game is probably maybe going to possibly win the series. Just where things are at, because whatever team can win on each other's home floor, I think that's who's going to win it. And then I think that Detroit, I picked them before the playoffs started. I think that they're the team that I could see, going all the way to the finals this year. They're a team equipped to do so. But this is a huge game, and this game is going to have major implications.
Yeah, I hate to admit this, man, especially right now because it's looked so ugly with Donovan Mitchell and James Harden in the backcourt. The first two games of the series in Detroit, it just wasn't pretty. There was a game or two where James Harden had more turnovers than buckets made, right? And it's hard to watch because he has a reputation of not showing up in the playoffs. And same thing with Spider. He has a reputation of not really being a big time clutch playoff player. He's a franchise player, and Utah was like, let's get this guy up out of here, man. We've seen enough, right? And so he goes to Cleveland, where they've had a lot of success in the regular season, but he doesn't have the playoff accolades, right? He doesn't have the playoff glamour. He doesn't have the superstarism that we're talking about, Anthony Edwards, that we've seen Luka put on the show. We haven't seen him put a team on his back and carry him through the playoffs. And so seeing them win a game at home is expected. Even if they win the next game, it's almost expected. Like they should. But the impressive thing about the series is that Detroit, to me, doesn't have a proven number two scorer when the Cavs have two scorers that can get it, out the mud at any point in time of day, which is why they're so scary in the backcourt, is because at any given moment, those players can catch fire. Now, to James Harden credit, you got to beat him 4 times, and I think he'll eventually figure it out. I'm hoping he does, especially with him being a Cali native. I want James Harden to put on the show, to be honest with you, right? I would love to see Spider put on the show. I just don't know if it's going to happen because Detroit has home court advantage. They've got great backcourt defense, and they don't match up well against Detroit. So if I had to bet the house on it, of course, I'm going to pick Detroit to win the series. But I really want to see Cleveland step up and push this to a Game 7 series. And if they push it to a Game 7 series, that's the only chance I really give them. But if they lose tomorrow, I think the series is a wrap. It's a wrap. You can't go down 3-1 and then go back to Detroit and think you're going to win a series. This is not going to happen.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you. I think what Detroit needs, they need Thompson to step up his offensive production. He was 4 for 10 the last game. He had 9 points. If Detroit can get, they don't even need a 20-point game from him, but if they can get like an 18-point game, 16 to 18-point game from him, I think Tobias Harris, veteran in the league, I think he's been playing really well for the Detroit Pistons. And then he had 21 points last game, 7 for 14 from the field, 2 for 3 from the three, 5 for 5 from the free throw line. He has been limited defensively. I think that Cleveland, they figured out something getting him on the switches and were able to attack him. So that's something that they got to be ready for. I think they got to be ready if they're going to switch with them. He needs to switch aggressive, and they got to be down in gaps but ready to rotate out to shooters. I thought that one thing that saved Cleveland was their shooting. They made 3 more threes than the Pistons. That's 9 points right there on the board. So that's something that the Detroit Pistons have to look out for. But once again to Tobias' credit, he's been amazing for them. But you're right that they need somebody. They don't have that marquee second scorer, but Tobias has been that. But I would like to see Thompson step up, more. I would like to see Durant, get going. Because we know at the end of the day that Cleveland, the way that they play, you talked about ball movement earlier. Ultimately, they want to go into the ISO game. And Cleveland is too good of a defensive team to kind of play that way, and that's why I picked Detroit to win this game because just defensively, I think that they can take care of things against Cleveland.
I hate to say that I'm gonna pick the Cavs, but I am. I'm gonna pick the Cavs to win this game. I'm gonna be disappointed if they lose, but then again, I'm not. Um, I really want to see James Harden ball, man. I really do, and I'm hoping that they don't go out the way that it looked like it's gonna happen in the first two games. I was just sitting here just getting so much hate because I told a lot of people I was picking the Cavs to win the series. And I got so many phone calls and DMs like, "What's up with the Cavs, man? What's up with the Cavs?" It just nonstop, and I'm like, man, I don't know how to respond to none of this, right? So I really want them to ball out just so I can respond to some of these DMs and some of these text messages that I just have left on read. And the Thompson brother that you talk about, he's a twin, right?
Yeah, yeah. His brother
Who,
plays for the Rockets.
for Houston. Who's better out of those two?
I feel like his brother might be a little bit better because I think he's more aggressive offensively. I think that both of them could raise their level offensively, but I see something in I think his name is Amin Thompson in Houston
Mm-hmm.
that uh his offensive game is probably a little bit more polished. And I could be wrong. That is what I see with my eyes. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what the numbers look like, but that's what I see with my eyes. You know how you can watch somebody? It's like they got a little bit more shit to them. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I see. But I tell you what, those brothers, they're young. They're gonna be a problem in the league, man. And what I like about them, they both down to play both sides of the basketball. They're gonna compete on the offensive side and the defensive side. And we need more of that in basketball. Like, stop teaching these kids just offense. Like, teach them defense too. Like, I'm tired of looking at one way or hearing the terminology one way player, two-way player. This is not football. This is basketball. You got to play on both sides of the basketball.
That's the one thing I do love about Anthony Edwards' game is he's a lockdown defender. But since we're talking about Detroit, that Cade Cunningham is no joke, man. He's a different breed. He's the type of player that you want to have on your team. Yeah, he's a different breed. So let me ask you a question that I posed earlier. If in the situation of the Cavs, I know you're probably going to say a player, but for Detroit, if you had a pick situation or a player because they have a young team, which one would you like to plug and play? Would you draft or would you trade for an all-star or would you take a high pick if you're Detroit Pistons management?
That's a tough question because the Pistons are fairly young. So it's tempting to bring in a pick because they can grow along with those guys. So that's a tough question to answer right there. But if I had to answer it right now, I will get a player, but that player can't be over 35. I'll be open to a player that's like late 20s, early 30s. But I wouldn't want, one of those players who are still great, but past that 35 age. You know what I'm saying? I want somebody that can roll with that group for like at least like 3 years. Because I think in that 3-year window, we'll have a really good shot at winning the championship.
Yeah, I think Detroit has a great future, with the young talent that they have on that roster. But I also feel like they're in a win now situation. Not saying that the window's going to close.
Jaylen Brown. I'm sorry.
I also feel like they're in a win now situation. And hey, Jaylen Brown edition, that would be amazing. That would be beautiful. Hey,
oh, you heard what I said? I'm sorry.
It's some smoke over there in Boston. It's some smoke over there. I know we're going to get to it because they just got eliminated. We definitely going to get to it. Well, makes you question, like, what are we doing with our future? Because Giannis is out there and the Milwaukee Bucks put out, we're looking for trade offers. They put that out today. We're looking, everybody already knew that, but we're looking for trade offers. And I know a lot of people that'd be like, "Hey, yo, we'll give up Joel Embiid for Giannis right now because Joel Embiid has missed more games in his NBA career than he has played." And like I said a minute ago,
Damn.
he's the first he's the first MVP that has never made it to a finals or a conference finals. And it's hard to watch. I honestly feel like he needs a fresh start, and so does the franchise, especially with the young rookie that they have. And that's one of the reasons why I do love to have a friendly segue into the next conversation of the college expansion, the tournament. It's the reason why I love sports in general is the expansion. In the history of the NBA, we haven't had over 6,000 players, but the game is evolving. It's going into different countries, right? And the last 7 MVPs have been foreign players. We had a discussion. We couldn't even remember who was the last American-born player to win the MVP. We was like, was it LeBron? Was it Steph Curry? Was it Westbrook? Was it Harden? Right? And so because the game is picking up, we're talking about now adding 2 more teams to the NBA. And I love it because there's so much talent out there now. Right, I just finished working the Big Three, and I saw so much talent that was out there. I was like, oh, shout out to Ice Cube, Thomas Scott, and everybody doing wonderful things out there, man. It was a beautiful
Yes,
thing.
sir.
My man Frank Nitti is just a different type of basketball player, man. I feel like he'll play basketball for free if you let him. But the game is expanding. So, with that being said, I want to know how you feel about the expansion of the NCAA tournament. Is it too much, adding too many teams? Is it like a gumbo where you just, you put in too many things into the gumbo and it kind of throws it off? Like how do you feel about the expansion of the NCAA tournament?
The expansion of the NCAA tournament it was long overdue. I think that when they expanded it from 64 to 68, I thought it was kind of incomplete. I thought that was good, adding 4 more teams to get like a play-in, quote unquote, play-in round. But now they fully expanded and it's long overdue. It should have happened from the initial start because what it does is it offers a whole new opening round, but it's a complete opening round. So now you're going to have 24 teams, 12 games. They play in that kind of pre-opening round, and they get the battle, and then go into the official first round. And what I like about it, you go back and forth all during the college season, during the college basketball season on men's and women's side. And when you talk about the bubble teams, all right, now you're going to have a situation where certain conferences that might not be a quote unquote Power Five conference where they're deserving of having 2, maybe 3 teams, and now they have that opportunity to get in, and then they can play in that opening round and make their way. I thought we saw that this year. You had teams that didn't get in. I thought that San Diego State is one of them in the Mountain West. They should have got in. Now with this new expansion, I think that teams like San Diego State get a chance to get in, and don't be surprised. We're going to see it. We always say that the NCAA tournament is the most exciting basketball tournament in the world. We're going to see the teams come from the opening round and end up in the Sweet 16. Somebody might end up in the Elite Eight, where otherwise they would have played in the NIT. So it was long overdue. And I will say this: I would like to see it expand even further and have like 90 teams. You know what I'm saying? So I love it, man. It adds to the madness, March Madness, and we get to see that opening round. Now watch. Remember, I said this. We're going to be talking next March. We're going to be talking here on the show, and we're going to talk about how exciting that opening round is. Now we can't wait to see them go play the guys that were waiting or the girls that were waiting, man. So it's going to be fun and exciting to see that.
I love it. Top 100. Fuck it. Why not?
Yeah,
Let's just go top
yeah,
100. Let's make it an
yeah,
even number. That'll be the name of it. Top 100 tournament, right?
yeah.
And the reason why I like it is because you're seeing teams. Well, first of all, there's so many really good college teams that you're not able to see. And right now, the competition is being spread out because of NIL. You're seeing top players now not necessarily go to the blue blood schools like the Dukes, the UConns, the Kentuckys, the Kansas. You know what I'm saying? Like you're seeing it like at a widespread version, and so you're actually getting really good competition. I'll give you 2 examples. One would be Gonzaga. Gonzaga does a great job of going after guys, usually that are coming from overseas. And when you get into the Gonzaga program, you end up staying for 3, 4, 5 years sometimes. And then they have really competitive teams in the March Madness tournament because those guys gel well, kind of like Oklahoma City Thunder. They click. And this season on the women's side, you had 6 players drafted in the first round, and they were the first team to have 5 starting seniors, on their roster. And just that level of competitiveness, knowing it's their last go, it makes them a triple threat. Not only do we get along, we bond well, but we've been here together and we're proven, right? And so we're not going to make clutch mistakes in the fourth quarter. We're going to play lockdown defense, but also we know each other's games so well, right? And so that's what makes the women's game a little different than the men's game is that they'll probably get players to stay in college a little bit longer than you would in the men's side of the game. So I love the expansion, and I love the expansion in the NBA. I think it's the reason, in my opinion, why they added the play-in tournament. I feel like they added the play-in tournament, and that was an expansion of the playoffs, right? And it's exciting every year. I remember the very first time watching the play-in, I was like, yo, we're watching playoff basketball right now. And it's not technically the playoffs, but it is. It's a battle to get into the playoffs. And you've seen number 8 seeds this year compete with number 1 seeds. And that's how the game is growing and evolving, is that now there's so much talent that I think it was Tracy McGrady that was like, "Oh, it's not enough talent." I disagree with that 100%, 100%. And their fan base is like in Oklahoma that deserve a team. Las Vegas is deserving of a team, and they're growing. And so I would love to see the expansion of the NCAA tournament go to 100 teams, because now you're going to start seeing players go to teams that you wouldn't necessarily hear of, New Mexico State or Nevada Reno or Fresno State. All of a sudden start getting that top tier talent, and they make a push in the NCAA tournament, and it really increases March Madness.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. And it also offers opportunity for these universities to generate more money. You got to generate money if you want to bring in certain players with the NIL deals. You got to be able to generate that money, and you generate that money. Being at the NCAA tournament, playing on national TV, getting that viewership, getting those sponsorships. So I'm looking forward to it, man. I can't wait for the 26-27 season. And I'm glad that they're doing it right away, and they're going to expand that field, and it's going to be fun to watch.
Well, the topic that we pretty much started off with that we got to circle back to is this AAU madness. We're starting to dive into the heart of it. Well, before we move on to that, was there anything else that you wanted to add about this college expansion? Because I do know that a lot of people brought up how it might be watered down. It's like, are we watering down the product? I disagree. I don't think so, but I definitely want to know your opinion on that.
No, that's it on that. I don't think it waters it down at all. Like I said, that's why they have the bubble. They have the teams that are, last 4 in, last 4 out. Now those teams are actually in the playing field. So that sures up. Even then, you're still going to have the bubble then. Like it's so many good teams, and it's a lot of teams that, win 20 plus games, have really good records, and they lose in a conference tournament, and then they're not able to go on because they're in a smaller conference. So it definitely doesn't water down anything. It just intensifies it, and get teams in that deserve it.
Well, I'll ask you one more question. I apologize. This for the listeners who don't really understand the conference tournament. What do you mean a team can have a high record or great record and still not get in because of what happens in the conference tournament? Can you explain that a little bit for people who don't really understand?
So what you have in all college sports, but we're going to specifically talk about men's and women's basketball, you have strength of schedule. All right. So your strength of schedule based on who you have on your schedule in your non-conference, who you have on your schedule in your non-conference, and based upon that, who you play in conference. So a lot of times you have a team that goes on a crazy run and has a good year and wins 20 plus games, but their strength of schedule, so to say, is not where somebody in a major conference may be at. But nevertheless, they still have to win their conference to go to the NCAA tournament, and not just the regular season. That's the point of the. So those who don't know, the point of the conference tournaments in college is to get your automatic bid to the tournament. So you have some teams that are worthy. They might be 25 wins plus, and they do really well, and then they get to the championship of the conference tournament and they lose. They lose a close game. Well, they're sitting there on Sunday, fingers crossed, and they don't get their name called because they didn't get the automatic bid. They didn't have the strength of schedule. Now, Joe Lenardi, who does all the bubble stuff, he's like last four in, last four out, and they don't make it. So now with expanding the field, that allows for teams like that to get in. Even from a standpoint of what's the team? University of Miami, Ohio this year. Hell of a run. They were undefeated at one point. And did they lose in that conference tournament?
They did.
Yeah, they lost it. I believe they lost in the conference tournament. And, even I think if they won it, they still wasn't going to get a number one seed. But I'm only using them as an example because now, like, let's say in some crazy world, they lose in a conference tournament to keep a 27-1 or 27-26-2 team out is crazy. So expanding that field, it kind of eliminates the argument, and then also maybe that helps them get the seeding that they're looking for. So I think it helps with seeding, and I think it helps with anticipating the NCAA tournament in terms of I like a complete opening round where you're not just having 4 teams play so they can go play the number one seed. You're having a bunch of teams play in each region, and then they go play those seeds, whatever the seeds are.
You broke it down one time. I think it was Jay Biles or something like that who broke it down.
Jay Billis.
Was like, Billis was like, it's a lot of things in college basketball that needs to be fixed. And so you're telling me right now that a team could be undefeated, but they lose a conference championship and possibly not get in, which sounds insane, right?
Yeah, well, it was
so
it was talks of it. I remember this year they were having talks about University of Miami, Ohio, if they lose, and I'm like, that shouldn't even be a talk. Like, I'm sorry, I don't give a damn what the strength of schedule is. It's extremely hard to go undefeated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, almost like any given Sunday, like a team could just catch fire at the right time, and you just don't have a great game.
Yeah, and it's hard to beat a team. It's hard to beat a team 3 times in a year because they know your
especially if they're in your conference.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'm gonna let you go ahead and start the AAU topic because I know this is one that's near and dear to your heart because you're fresh in it, and it's something that's always complicated, and I don't understand the complications of it. But we're dealing with teenagers and we're dealing with young parents, and there's a lot of things that some people just don't understand. Like, I don't really understand having rankings in junior high school. I just don't get it.
Yeah, man, rankings. You see it so much. We come from the basketball world, obviously, AAU, so on and so forth. And we've been seeing it for years now where they have rankings, they're ranking first graders, second graders, third graders. I don't understand it, but people take it seriously. I was blessed to host an event, a showcase of all 4th graders about a few weeks ago. And it's for the top 4th graders, but in a sense of how I look at it, it's not the top. It is the top, it's some of the best, but there are plenty of 4th graders that were really good that weren't there. It's just more so in name and allowing these players to get together and compete against one another. But you have, people who take things so seriously. Like, for instance, with our things that we had online on social media, on Instagram, you had a guy who was a grown man comment on our clips that we put on Instagram and said something of like, if that's the best that California has to offer, you guys are in trouble. Your class sucks. And I'm like, dude, you're a grown man. And he said something about out here in the state that I'm in, we have a 5'10" fourth grader. I didn't see anybody that can da 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 da. It's like, dude, they're fourth grade. Like, yeah, this is a showcase of the quote unquote best fourth graders, but it's not the best fourth grader. It's a fourth grader somewhere. Who knows? That ain't even playing yet. That hasn't shown the type of interest enough to play or don't have the resources to play. That's going to get discovered. Like it's just crazy, man. And we've been seeing it. And I remember, in the 90s, they weren't ranking elementary players. Like I remember in the 90s, they were ranking middle school players and stuff like that. That's kind of where it started. That now they have extended it. I think they rank kindergartners. And I just think that is, and I'll just talk on it, and I'll get your opinion on it. Rankings don't mean crap. They don't mean anything. It's the simple saying. It's not where you start, it's where you finish. All right. So where, a child is ranked when they're in third and fourth grade, second grade, and middle school and all that, even high school to a certain extent, there's no guarantees. So the rankings, that's just adults putting some body's name out there. That's all it is. It doesn't determine nothing. And to the kids who are listening, do not let rankings deter you. Do not let rankings get you down. Do not allow rankings to affect you in a way. If anything, either ignore it altogether or just use it as motivation. All right. It's just a list of seeing who's out there. Because at the end of the day, I don't care where you rank. It's going to be a certain point in time you have to put up or shut up, and you're going to have to perform. I've been a college coach before. I've been an NBA coach. I've never heard a college scout or an NBA scout talk about or talk in a way where the rankings drove their opinion on the player on whether or not they wanted them a part of their program or franchise. I've never heard it. If anything, the older they get, they might use it as a tool to see who's what, but they do not care who's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They do not care. They could care less. They're looking for who knows how to play, who can defend, who can rebound, who has an IQ, who knows how to cut, who has good wingspan, length, height, athleticism, who knows how to read a defense, who's a winner. That's who they're looking at. All right. A great example of it is Jalen Brunson for the New York Knicks. Highly stouted recruiting and everything like that, but he wasn't the number one player. He wasn't the number one player. He was one of the top players in the country, but he wasn't number one. He currently plays for the New York Knicks, going to a second Eastern Conference final, made an All-Star game. I believe he's the highest paid player on his team. You know what I'm saying? So that stuff does not matter. It does not matter. It's so many number one players who even got drafted. They're no longer even playing or they're overseas. So to me, the rankings are just letting you know who's out there. That's all it is. Don't let it deter you. The most important thing, especially when you're young, especially for my itty bitties out there, especially for my elementary players, my middle school players, keep working on your game, working on your fundamentals, working on your defense, your footwork, your handles, your rebounding, your passing. Master the fundamentals. If you master fundamentals, you can play with and against anybody. Anybody. The rankings are getting a little too crazy. All right. The rankings are causing players to have mental roadblocks. The rankings are making things unnecessarily combative within AAU. All right. I think parents have to take responsibility. Parents and leaders to break down these rankings and what they mean. All right, we're putting too much importance on them. All right, I think these tournament organizers and these evaluators have a duty to show their face. All right, you putting out these rankings, but you don't show your face. You put out these rankings and you're not talking. We need to hear you speak. We need to hear you talk about and break down so you don't have a 10-year-old distraught and stressed out because they're not ranked. All right. I guarantee you, whoever's ranked the top third, fourth, fifth grader right now, all right, I guarantee you, if we fast forward to whatever draft classes they're going to be in, we're going to see names getting called for the draft that ain't even on the list. And we're going to look back and say, where was their name at? Where they wasn't even ranked. Matter of fact, some of them playing football right now. Some of them playing baseball. Some of them are living overseas, whatever the case may be. The rankings do not matter. I've heard so many college coaches, NBA coaches, NBA front office people, and more importantly, players say, man, that ranking stuff don't mean nothing. I've heard them say it over and over and over again. I can't stress enough. They do not matter. All right, go ahead, coach.
Hey, listen, that was one of the best takes. I mean, we done had a lot of great topics, but that's one of the best takes I've ever heard you like really touch on, man. I feel like it was real passionate and it came from a place of concern. Like you sound like a concerned coach, a concerned parent, and a concerned mentor. And right now, because of rankings, I feel like a lot of our players aren't being mentored, coached, or parented the right way. And I want to bring up a few topics that you brought up to highlight this specific discussion. At what age should rankings matter? Right? And so I'll pose that question to you real quick. Just what age to you do you think rankings really should matter?
Well, I don't think they're not necessarily pointless in high school. It just acknowledges who people think are the best. For me, what's most important in high school is you're on the AAU circuit. Are you on the major circuit? Nike EYBL, Adidas 3SB, Under Armour, the Puma circuit. Are you on those circuits and you're playing well? All right. For instance, we got to start dealing with facts here. I think the majority of the McDonald's All-Americans last year played either Nike EYBL or Adidas 3SB. I believe they had one from the maybe Under Armour or Puma. Don't quote me there. So that goes to tell you that the majority of the best were where they were. So go there and compete at a high level. You might not become All-American, but guess what? You're competing against the quote unquote best. And guess where? Guess what? Those coaches are going to be looking at those ranked players, and you sneak through the back door and get your college scholarship. You go to college, you keep getting better, and you play well. All right, you play well, your team wins, you go to the NCAA tournament, which we talked about, and guess where those scouts are sitting at the NCAA tournament?
Courtside.
They're nudging each other. Who's number 11 for Fresno State? He's Teddy Fletcher. Man, he's a hell of a point guard. They don't go, oh, what was he ranked? No, he's a good point guard. And if that young man comes out this year, we're going to bring him on a draft workout. We're going to interview him. We're going to find out who his mom is, his dad is, his sister is, his good, his bad, his ugly, his tendency, his attitude, his good attitude, his bad attitude. We're going to ask his fifth grade teacher, did she have any trouble out of him? We're going to learn if he ever stole. We're going to learn if he ever did any game banging. Does he drink? Does he smoke? Does he pop pills? They don't never ask nothing about no ranking. All I know is we came in here and he played his ass off and we got the 20th pick and God damn it, we're going to call his name. That's when rankings matter. Your ranking matter when the commissioner call your name. That's when your ranking matters. Your ranking matters when you sit in there in May or whenever and the school president call your name and hand you your diploma. That's when your ranking matters. You understand what I'm saying?
Big facts. Check this out. The next one is motivation versus entitlement. Sometimes your ranking makes you feel entitled and it hinders your motivation. Just imagine being a hungry Dame Dollar who never got the attention that he felt like he deserved. He still plays with a chip on his shoulder because he wasn't a highly ranked player. Another player with this motivation versus entitlement that Chad Bell brought up, which is, I think, a great point to bring up in this kind of discussion, is Larry Bird. Larry Bird wasn't highly ranked in high school. And if you watch the Bird versus Magic documentary, he said the very first time he got invited to a big time tournament and he had to go up against one of the top guys, he was like, that's the top guy? Going at his neck. All of a sudden, Larry Bird was ranked after that tournament. He was ranked after. He said he gave him the business. He was blocking shots, stealing the ball from him, knocking down threes, taking to the ball. He said it was the first time he ever played ISO ball because he was like, this dude is ranked. Larry Bird got ranked after one tournament because he had the motivation beforehand, before he was ranked, before all the lights and the glory. He was like, yo, I'm out here grinding every single day because I'm motivated. So motivation versus entitlement is a real thing. Shaquille O'Neal, yes, is a freak of nature, but at the same time, didn't even play high school basketball until like his junior, senior year of high school. You know what I'm saying? So this is one of the things that Chad Bell is talking about. And to speak specifically on just two players, the Elijah Arenas, Gilbert Arenas' son, and Steph Curry, Dale Curry's son. Dale Curry pulled Steph Curry out of AAU basketball, and he said, you need to work on your fundamentals. Every great player that you see in the NBA, I can almost guarantee you they have one thing, two things: a work ethic and fundamentals. A work ethic and fundamentals. Gilbert didn't put his son on one of the top high school teams because he said, you need to work on your all around game. You're not just going to work on being a scorer. You're just not going to work on being a role player and knock down threes. You're going to learn how to be a hooper and a basketball player. You have to play every single role. You have to guard the best player on the team. You have to jump ball. You got to play point guard. You got to get the clutch rebounds, you know what I'm saying, at the end of the game. And you're going to lose some games. You're going to lose some games. So it helps build that fire for you. But here's the other thing. One thing that he brought up is this privilege that we're going through now. He said, parents chasing rankings. Parents, not the players, the parents. Sometimes you got to pull back and see how bad your kid really wants it. If you want it more than your kid, we got a major problem, ladies and gentlemen. We got a major problem. That kid isn't as motivated as you. And then you have to think, what am I really doing? What am I doing it for? You can't want it more than your child wants it. Another great point that he brought up is coaches relying too heavy on rankings. Why are we worried about rankings if you're a coach? Worry about winning championships and producing the best players. I saw a clip where you had all of these all-stars on one team playing against a lesser team, and they were pressing the crap out of this team. And it made me think, what are they really learning? What are they really learning by blowing this team out by 30? What if you just went man to man, you know what I'm saying, and taught them how to play man to man defense? And because you know you're better than that team, let's go ahead and execute our offense for a full 20 seconds before we try to get a bucket. Let's teach these kids how to play in a system. And you don't really see that a lot because you get caught up in, oh, we've won every game by 20 or 30 points, but we still haven't won a national championship, right? It's a reason for that because when you go up against other big dogs, you can't just press them the whole game. There are going to be some players where it doesn't matter how good your team is, that one point guard is unpressable. I don't even know if that's a word.
It is now.
Right. You can't press that guy. I do know that I learned early in my high school career, if I wanted to be effective, I had to learn how to beat a press. Nobody pressed us in high school. Nobody. If we got to the point where in the second half of the games, teams took that press off real quick. Here's another question. Would you rather be ranked early or develop quietly? Chad, with that question, I want you to elaborate on that. I just want to repeat it one more time because I love it. Would you rather be ranked early or develop quietly?
See, when you ranked early, you put in a target on your back early. from the jump. You know, everybody knows your name. You such and so and so. You putting that target on your back early. All right, and hey, listen, it happens. Some kids are just that good, but you got to work twice as hard, not even, or if not three times as harder. All right, because people are gunning for you when you ranked early. All right, and hey, like I said, some people it just happens that way, and that's fine. But you better be working. All right. That's why I say um, rankings don't even matter. I would rather be developed quietly because to me, the kids that develop quietly, it's something about it. It gives you a sense of humility and it gives you a sense of hunger, that burning desire to show the world I'm here. I can play too. All right. And at the same time, you're not, you don't have the spotlight on you and you behind the scenes and you just working. You just working. You working on your skill level, your fundamentals. You're not looking to the left. You're not looking to the right. All right. You're not worrying about this person. You're not worrying about that person because you're going to see them anyway. They got to see you anyway because they all going to the same tournament. They got to see you. And eventually, the cream is always going to rise to the top. And before you know it, when it's all said and done, it could be when it's most important. It could be your senior year at one of the major events. And there you are. And your game's gonna do the talking. One of my favorite stories is of Tracy McGrady. Unknown. Nobody knew who he was outside of where he went to school at, back in Florida. And then when he went to school out in North Carolina, Mount Zion, he went to ABCD camp in 96. Unknown. Left that camp in a few days or a week or whatever, number one player in the country for his class. All right. Was he number one before then? Probably so. Nobody knew him. But guess what he probably was doing? Working on his game, working on his craft. I can go on and on. There's so many players. Player that I witnessed that should have been All-American but wasn't highly thought of was Gilbert Arenas. You mentioned him earlier about his son Elijah. Gilbert Arenas, in my opinion, for his class in 1999 in LA, was better than all them dudes. No offense to them dudes, because there was a lot of good players in that class. But I saw Gilbert with my own eyes. They wasn't on his level. All right, it took him to, at the last minute, get a scholarship to Arizona. Go to Arizona, and he had to work his butt off there to get in rotation and play for 2 years and lead that team to the national tournament and to the national championship at Arizona. He gets to the league, he got to start over again. He never was nobody's favorite. He started over again and started playing well in Golden State and eventually goes to the Washington Wizards, but the rest is history. But the point is quiet, develop quietly. All right, I want to develop quietly. But, if you are that top, player, whatever the case may be, you better be working because too much is given, much more is required. If you got that ranking, you are required to do more work. Otherwise, somebody gonna get at you. Somebody gonna get up with you eventually. You can be you better not be gazing at that Instagram post that X post or whatever the case may be all day, because while you gazing at it, oh, look at my name right there. Homegirl is in the hot sun somewhere in South Carolina doing this. Oh yeah, such and such number one, huh? I'm coming for her. She don't know. She don't understand. I'm coming for her. That girl that went and printed it out and put it on her bed every night. Such and such, so and so, and that's from Texas. Yep. Mm-hmm. And then she get to that tournament. Hey, that's such and such. Oh, that's the girl that I've been. Let's go. And it's like, yo, who is this? Yeah. Yeah. And I tell players, you want to go in the gym and nobody know your name. If you play a tournament and at the end of that tournament, people don't know who you was, you ain't do your job. At least somebody should be saying, hey, who's number 3? You talking about number 3 for the green team? Man, he nice. To the point where they be like, hey, number 3, what's your name? Oh yeah, my name is Jason. Man, Jason Vick, boy, that boy cold. You want people to say your name, but you get people to say your name by your play. Like, it's certain players, you see them play, you never forget them because of how they played the game. You know what I'm saying? It ain't about your ranking. It ain't about that. It's about how you play the game. You play the game, they going to find you. Like I said, the cream is always going to rise to the top. They are going to find you. And that ranking stuff, it comes. And even once it gets to you as a player, don't dwell on it. Because if you spend too much time gazing at it, somebody's going to get up with you.
That's one thing that I love about SGA is I don't think that he cares about the MVPs or the accolades or anything like that. I think he's one of the guys that's focused on legacy. And one of the questions I wanted to pose to you is who's been drafted to you that wasn't a high pick that rose to the occasion? And I'm a real quick bring up, I love how you brought up Gilbert Arenas. He had to work for his spot. I feel like Baron Davis had to work for his spot. I feel like Kobe Bryant a lot of people don't know this because Kobe Bryant had such an amazing career, but Kobe Bryant didn't start for the Lakers. I think it was his first 2 seasons. He had to back up Eddie Jones, right? Eddie Jones was a great player. He has a lot of James Harden tendencies, but that's a whole other conversation. Eddie Jones was a really great Laker, really great career. The guy that I'm going to go ahead and throw out, like I just mentioned a minute ago, is Damian Lillard. Worked his tail off, and now to me is a superstar in the NBA. Yes, he's had a couple of injuries, and you didn't see him on the map like that because he played in Portland or because he went to Milwaukee and everything didn't stand out. But Damian Lillard is one of those players that you do not want to play in the playoffs. Also, quick shout out to my high school coach Pat Roy, who at that ABCD camp that Tracy McGrady was at was his coach during that time where he blew up. And Pat Roy said that is the greatest talent that I have ever coached in my entire life, and he coached me. So for him to say that, T-Mac must have been amazing. He coached Paul Pierce, he coached Dino Tanner, he coached Jason Hart, he coached a lot of players
D'Angelo
that went on to have great careers. Hey, I can go Jason McKinney, Rayshawn Reed, Kibo. A lot of people don't know that name, right? There's a Noel Felix. There's a lot of people that he's coached back in the day that has had stellar careers, but he said Tracy McGrady is the greatest high school talent that I have ever coached. So is there a player to you that really didn't stand out, in the quote unquote rankings that put the world on watch? It was like, hey, I'm here. I'm rolling with Dame Dollar, and I would love to know who your pick is.
Well, I got 2. One is more mainstream pick. One is more underground. I'll start with the mainstream pick is Steph Curry. Steph Curry, you mentioned him earlier. He was not a McDonald's All-American. His daddy played at Virginia Tech, and from what I've heard, they approached Virginia Tech about him, attending there. And I don't think he was even accepted to walk on there. And his dad played for the program. And he had to go to Davidson, who I had never heard of Davidson until Curry was there, because Curry was there at the end of my college career. So I'm like, man, who's this skinny kid with the jersey like too big, like the uniform was bigger. If you go back and look, the uniform was bigger than him back in those days. And he put that school on the map. And we wouldn't know anything about Davidson. And watching him play, I learned about him and saw him play. And then after the fact, I learned that Dale Curry was his dad. Like, that's Dale Curry's son. And so he had to earn everything that he got. And there were a lot of question marks, even whether he could sustain in the NBA because of the physicality. You understand? So he defeated all odds. I for one, I didn't expect him to have the kind of career he had, where he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, champion, Finals MVP, MVP. You know, I thought like he was just going to be like a shooter in the league. That's it, like just a shooter because he could shoot the ball so well. But he's done much more, man. And then my underground pick will be Derek White.
He's literally changed the game. Literally changed the game.
Yeah, he changed the game. He changed the game. And my underground pick will be Derek White for the Boston Celtics. He's a guy that played, I don't even think he was D3. He might have been NAIA somewhere in Colorado playing. You know, he had a growth spurt, but, you know, he had the skill level, but he didn't have the exposure. And this holds true to the saying, if you're good enough, they will find you. And University of Colorado brings him in his senior year. He transfers there, and he balls out, and he gets drafted late first round by the San Antonio Spurs. All right, this guy was no high school All-American. He wasn't invited to none of them camps or nothing like that. He was in some small town in Colorado, you know, loving the game. Just love the game. And one thing I gotta say is this, you know, appreciate whatever level you are at or whatever level you end at, because it's a beautiful opportunity to play basketball. Not everybody's going to play Division I basketball. It's only so many schools with so many roster spots. Not everybody's going to play D2. Some people got to go play D3, NAIA, junior college. Some people stop there. But wherever you wherever you go to, wherever you end at, appreciate your journey and walk away from it knowing that you did everything you could to be the best possible player you can. Don't point any fingers. Don't blame. I'm speaking on experience. Don't blame anybody for anything. Try to earn as much as you can. Like, no coach is perfect. You know, coaches usually gonna play the players that deserve to play, usually. And some coaches you just not gonna rock with. There's no perfect basketball situation. We just talked about situations with NBA players making a lot of money, having a lot of success, but may not be happy. But that's just what it is. Like, there's no perfect situation, man. When you get in situations where you love the coach and love management, love the school, whatever the case, you're really, really fortunate and lucky. But when it's not, it's not. It's just what it is. You got to pivot accordingly. No pun intended. You guys got to pivot. You know what I'm saying? And just try to become the best you could possibly be and the best player you can be.
I've said it once and I've said it twice. This is the reason why I appreciate our subscribers and everybody tuning in, is because we gonna keep it a buck. We gonna give you the real. Sometimes it's gonna be raw, and I apologize for my savagery. Sometimes, you know, I really don't, but I feel like it's appropriate to say. You're gonna get the truth one way or another when it comes to these conversations that you're having with us. And we talk about people being overranked and overrated and all of this stuff. And just to touch on a quick history of my background, it's a reason why I don't have any regrets about my basketball career, is because of the way that my freshman year went. My freshman year, like, I really had to battle to play varsity basketball. And I was like the fourth option when it came to our point guards because we were so stacked. But I enjoyed it. I really did. And I really felt like, because I was a freshman, it's okay. I don't have to work that hard. My talent has pretty much got me on this team. But what I realized when we lost in the semifinals to Santa Margarita was that, yo, there are levels to this, man. They just blew us out of the gym. We lost by 30 to Santa Margarita. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to lift weights. I'm going to run track. And it was the first time since I was 9 years old that I didn't play AAU basketball, because I was like, I need to go back to the lab. I need to go back to the lab, and I need to work on my fundamentals. I need to work on my game. Like, they were bombing threes from damn near half court. They were pressing the shit out of us. And I barely played in that game. And I asked myself, like, would I have made a difference? And the answer was hell no. I wouldn't have made a difference. We were going to lose that game regardless. And that was a game that I just wasn't ready for, even if I did play when it mattered. And so it made me look in the mirror and be like, yo, I'm not going to have any regrets. Chad, was you about to say something?
Yeah, just a little trivia for you. Do you know what former USC quarterback was on that Santa Margarita team.
Oh my God, I'm looking dead at him. What's his name?
Carson Palmer.
Carson Palmer. Yes, and we could match up. And first of all, I didn't know Carson Palmer played football until the game was over. I had no
Yeah,
idea. They were
yeah.
loaded. That team was stacked, fam. We first of all, we only lost one game by 30 that year. Before that game, and that was to Oak Hill, and that was a wake up
And
call in the summertime. I was
I
like,
was
hey,
at that
who?
game.
Yeah, we got ran out the gym, and I said, oh, we not that real. I thought we was nice because we hadn't lost up to that point, and we lost by 30 the first time I really lost by 30 in my life was to Oak Hill, and then we turn around in the playoffs and get blown out to Santa Margarita. I said, nah, fam. I'm not having no regrets. I'm not leaving nothing on the table. So that's the big homie advice I have to a lot of you young athletes over there. And I have this conversation every year as a high school coach, man. I ask my players, almost every month. I said, do you feel like you could have worked harder last year? And everybody says yes. And I said, don't have that same answer towards the end of the season, especially for you seniors. You're going to look back and you're going to regret it your entire life. Did you give 110%? And what are you waiting for? Why are you keeping something in the tank? Like, this is your last go at it. And for you juniors, you might get hurt your senior year and you look back and be like, did I play hard enough to be able to get a scholarship off my junior film, my junior year film? So life is too short to be sitting back and saying, "Oh, we'll do next year." Maybe not. It may not be next year. So I would recommend that when you go into the summertime, you go into it knowing that I'm gonna put everything out here and lay it on the line. And by myself, when nobody's looking, I'm gonna do 2 a day, maybe even 3 a days. You know what I'm saying? Before I go to my AAU practice, is that important? One
Right
quick
there.
thing, we talk about these ranking systems. What's the most overrated ranking system in your opinion?
I mean, all of them really. All of them really. But more specifically, the ones when they're young, And listen,
Yeah,
I do showcase for elementary kids, but and there are quote unquote ranked players that come to my events, but it's not just for them. I have players that weren't ranked there. I just want kids that young getting in the gym because you got to find creative ways to get them in the gym now because nobody just plays pickup. On a large scale just by themselves on their own. So my way is to have these quote unquote showcases where the kids go and they play against each other and they ball out. My son played and he's nowhere near ranked and we're okay with that. But he loves the game. He likes to work. When I run my workout sessions, he's always out there dribbling and shooting and working on defense and playing. He just loves it. You know what I'm saying? So, but don't these guys, and they're not gonna stop. But the ranking the babies, that's just ridiculous to me. I believe the rankings. I would like to just see it because you gotta have it, I guess. But when they're in like seventh grade, when they become a recruitable athlete, and that's just like the like us. Even then, it's just a resource for college coaches to start get familiarized with classes by that point to me. But, ranking these third and fourth graders is ridiculous. And then, I remember years ago when I first started coaching, this is like 15, 16 years ago, it was a kid, I think it was like a fourth or fifth grade, highly ranked number one, this and that, and third. And something told me like 2 years ago, let me look at this kid. And he was barely playing basketball. And I was like, man, that kid was super talented. But I also thought maybe he got burned out, trying to defend that number one title for so long. I got burned out. And one thing, and I'll leave it at this, everybody peaks at different points. You know what I'm saying? I believe Floyd Mayweather, didn't he lose in the Olympics when he was a teen?
yeah, he did. He did. That's the only time
And,
he really lost, ever lost.
and yeah, that's the only time he's lost. And then he goes on to have a 50 plus win professional career, one of the best boxers of all time, certainly in the top three to five. So with sports, you peak at different times. You know what I'm saying? And I know myself as a player, I peaked when I was in high school. You know what I'm saying? Where I finally hit a stride where I began to earn respect. You know, I started behind the eight ball. When I was in middle school, everybody was better than me. You know what I'm saying? But one thing I had is I had work ethic and I had heart.
Right.
And I wanted to be good. I knew I wasn't there yet, but I knew if I kept working, I would get there. And by my junior year in high school, things started working out for me, and I became one of the better players. But if I had just solely just dwelled on rankings in middle school, I would have been finished from the start. You know what I'm saying?
But I want to make a statement, man. And we talked about this. This is very important for you parents out there and your players or the young youth out there. Listen to what we're saying. If you're playing on an AAU team where you're playing 24 games in 1 month, you're playing too many games. And the reason why I bring up the specific number of 24 is because it's possible to have 3 games on a Saturday, 3 games on a Sunday. And if you're doing that every single weekend, no, that's not healthy for you because you're too young. It's too much wear and tear in your body. Even if you're one of the top ranked players in the nation at 17 years old, that's too many games. 24 games in a 30-day span is way too many games. Bring it down.
Mm-hmm.
Do not allow your kids to play 3 games every single day on the weekends, on the Saturday and on the Sunday. And some of these tournaments even start on Fridays. Parents, you got to save your kids from themselves. They're still young. Coming up, Coach Chad Bell, but we got the Spurs series. They're playing against the Timberwolves.
I'm going to go on record and say this. The OKC Thunder is one of the best assembled teams of all time. And
Facts.
I say that because they are deep. They have depth at every position. And then I will also go on record, and I'm glad I'm saying it on the show, so I have proof that I said it. They have the best. Their front, Sam Presti, he has the best hand that any president or GM has ever had in the history of basketball in terms of he has players on his current roster. He has the MVP. All right. They're the defending champs, and they have draft capital for the future. I have never in my life seen anything like this. He has a great hand, and shout out to Sam Presti. He does an amazing job. He has one of the best recruiting, scouting departments ever. They do an amazing job. Shout out to the OKC Thunder. Great organization, great coaches, great players, great people. And they are going to be the dynasty. This is our next dynasty that we're witnessing, man. And I think they're going to win, 3 to 4 championships with this group. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hey, you heard it here first, man. And it's been another great show. I told y'all from day one all the way until now, there's nobody else that I'd rather do it with. Chad Bell, same birthday, same mentality. It's just that he's way more professional. You know what I'm saying? Like he's tailored, he's polished, and I'm everything but. I'm the opposite. I am total savagery. I'm a sinner and he's a saint. And I love the fact that we can put this together like this, man, because you get both sides of the perspective, man. You know what I'm saying? So Chad Bell, man, I really appreciate you. And this has been a long show, but it's been a minute. So I'm glad that we were able to knock down all these topics. And I appreciate everybody for logging in and listening. If you haven't already, Chad Bell is going to tell you to like and subscribe because I can care less, man. I just love the fact that I'm on here doing it with my man. Pause.
Oh, man. Hey, definitely appreciate you, Coach TFletch500, man. Another great show today, man. You can follow us on Instagram at Big Homies Podcast. You can find us on YouTube as well, the Big Homies Podcast. We appreciate you all. Make sure you follow us. Make sure you subscribe, like, and comment. We need you to mess with the algorithms for us, all right? Another great show today, man. Love talking basketball. Love talking game, life, and culture. All right, we're going to be back until next time. We'll see you guys soon. We appreciate you all. We love you all. Peace and blessings. We are out. Big Homies Podcast.